Mackenzie Johnston with Tri-State Livestock News, bringing you discussions concerning fair cattle markets. Today we have the opportunity to chat with Quest Flesner of Palmyra, Missouri. He is an auctioneer at F&T Livestock Market in Palmyra. Can you tell me a bit about your background and your involvement within the cattle industry?
Yeah, we grew up in western Illinois, about 5-10 minutes from Missouri and about 30 minutes from Iowa. My grandpa has always ran traditionally hogs for years and years and years. And then we went ahead and he bought some cows some years back. He's always ran a nice cow herd. And right out of high school, I come back and went to small community college up the road here, got a degree in ag business and animal science. Come back and bought some cows and just kind of grew the herd from there. I run a small cow-calf operation, nothing too exciting, black, white face. And then probably 4 years ago, I went to auctioneer school. My neighbor up the road here is a large cow farmer, background's 800 to 900 head. And he encouraged me to go to auctioneer school. So I did that and then come back, and that's what I want to do is sell cattle. And was fortunate enough to get in with John and Jim Browning 2 years ago over at F&T in Palmyra, right before they sold the barn to Al Dames and the Dames family, the new owners. So as soon as he took it over, he called me and asked me to be a part of what they're trying to do over there, which was what I was for. He's got the same beliefs as I do, so I'm happy to do that.
So what do you feel are the biggest issues standing in the way of fair cattle markets today?
We're fighting against, in my opinion, and the producers around here would typically agree, we're fighting against a market that isn't really a fair market due to the fact that we got cattle. I've got a friend down in Texas that trucks cattle in out of Mexico, and we're competing against countries that don't have the same rules, regulations, the same labor laws, all that. We're fighting against those individuals. I mean, if they're bringing cattle in for pennies on the dollar and putting them on the shelf right next to our meat and charging the same price for it, and people don't know what they're buying, that's really kind of hurting our market up here. You know, in the summer we had kill cows bringing 80 to 85 cents, and that's where they need to be, because I know if you talk to other people and other groups, they just tell you that the cattle coming in are just trim meat. Well, if we had to buy our trim meat from all U.S. cattle and we labeled it and the buyer knew what they were getting, they would probably demand U.S. cattle, and that would drive our cow prices up, and that's what we're fighting against right now.
What is the kill cow market like there at Palmyra right now?
Last week, our fleshier cows higher dressing were mid to upper 60s, anywhere from 65 to 67, 68. And then, average dressing cows were right around that 5 range. Lower dressing, obviously, down in the 40s. But, it's crazy to see something that was as high as 85 to 90 cents and kill bulls bringing $1.30 and higher than fat cattle. And then, 4 months later, see this. So there's no reason for that.
So what do you feel would be a solution to fix this issue?
We need to start off by labeling our meat. I don't understand why people are against that in Washington, why they don't want that. I mean, we need transparency. The consumer is so uneducated on what they're buying in the store that anything we can give them to give them assurance that they're buying a safe and wholesome product is just better for the industry as a whole. It makes us look better, and I tell you, no matter what side you voted for in the last election, it doesn't matter. They're going to want a USA-made product. If you put it on the shelf next to a stamped piece of meat that says Mexican or Brazilian, and then it says stamped in the US of A, I know what people are going to buy because they've got trust in us. That's what we really need to do to kind of turn things around. We need to get mandatory country origin of labeling back. I don't know if it's too late for this or not, but we've got to get these packers to buy more of their cattle from the sale barn, and we got to force their feet to the fire. But I know that's easier said than done, but the labeling of the meat is where we can start, in my opinion, and where we need to start.
So you talked about essentially holding the packers' feet to the fire. What are your thoughts on Senator Grassley's 5014 legislation?
There's a lot of people in Washington that have got the right intentions, but regardless of what's being pushed through, they just seem to not have the support to push through anything that's beneficiary to the small, independent producers. I don't know yet what my opinion would be on that. I to be honest with you, we've got to get these packers to buy their cattle at a local market. True price discovery is where is where we need the cattle market to be. And right now we don't have that.
The USDA has proposed implementing RFID tags for traceability across the industry by 2023. What are your thoughts on this proposal?
I think that would ruin a lot of sale barns. We've already got enough headaches in a sale barn, stuff that we have to keep track of, stuff, protocols that we have to follow and rules and regulations. That's the last thing we need. Down here, all these producers down here want mandatory country origin of labeling. But if you ask them what the biggest fear that they have is, they will tell you the biggest fear is the RFID tags. That would be a train wreck down here. It would essentially push out the small producers, and I feel that's the big threat to our industry right now. They pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, and every time that we turned an eye, that they try to shove it back through, and I'm completely against it. I think it would ruin a lot of small individuals that are in the business. I've talked to several and said if I have to do it, I won't stay in this industry, And then I've also talked to a lot of vets that are in the back of the barns, and they said, they'll just hold our feet to the fire. It will be more headaches for us, and we'll be held accountable, and it will give the packers more control in these sale barns if they choose to stay open.
What are your thoughts concerning the beef checkoff referendum petition that is currently circulating?
I'm 100% for it. We've got, I've talked to a gentleman over here by Macon, and he's got me a list. We've started taking signatures actually this week, kind of talked to some producers around here. There's a lot of individuals that feel that, they don't not necessarily want to see it go away, but they want to see where their money's going. If we're going to keep doing this, we need to see where our bang for our buck is, see where those dollars are going, and see them actually be used for the independent producer, such as myself and most everybody around us here. But we're not getting that right now. I mean, that dollar, it's going other places that it doesn't need to be going. It does nothing for the independent cow-calf producer. And when it does, when we get somewhere and you do maybe see some advertisement for beef, the thing that bugs me and every producer here in Northeast Missouri is when the NCBA or Cattle Board, somebody drops by beef checkoff stickers for your bumper sticker. I can't stand that. We can't stand that down here. If I'm going to pay that dollar, I want it to say U.S. cattle, because I guarantee you they're not paying that down south of the border. They're not paying it north of the border. So if I'm paying it, I want to be paying it to market my meat that I raise here in the U.S. with all the rules and regulations, doing it the healthy way. And right now, the checkoff dollar is a complete waste of money, in my opinion. They're not. It's doing nothing for us right now, and that's why I support the referendum here, because if you show me results, and I'll change my mind. But I don't think it's going to change. So I think we need to have the right to vote on it. We haven't voted on it in quite a while, and I just think that's what needs to happen. We need to have that option.
What are some of the main concerns you hear from cattle producers in your area and those that sell at F&T Livestock?
RFID tags, that's the main thing that the producers here, I hear them talk about all the time. They say once that happens, that more than likely a lot of the small guys will get out. They talk about the government regulations, the hoops they have to jump through. I've got a producer in Illinois that, we fight a million battles, and then you fight people like the EPA and animal rights groups. If you would ask me 5-6 years ago, I would have told you animal rights. But now it really comes down to government regulations. I got a producer in Illinois that got a neighbor that is upset. He didn't get to buy a piece of property next to him. He bought it, threw some cows on it, and next to a couple hills and a stream. And the EPA come in and has made his life heck. Now he's selling his herd. And we see that a handful of times over here, especially in Illinois, Western Illinois, where the EPA will come in, a guy that's running a perfectly good, clean herd on good fescue grass. It's not a mud lot, and they can just come in and do what they want. So I would say it will come down to government regulations, and tagging these cattle is the big deal.
We've seen both the hog and poultry industries go down the path of vertical integration. Do you think the cattle industry is in danger of going down that same path if significant changes aren't made within our industry?
Absolutely. And this is coming from a former hog operator. I owned my own barn in Perry, Illinois, bought the University of Illinois and Johnwood Community College research farm, ran it, and I can guarantee you that in the next 5 years, if we're not careful and something doesn't happen sooner than later, that we will become an integrated industry. Unfortunately, the packers have already got their heels dug in, especially on the fed cattle market. We have no pull there, and if we're not careful and we don't do something sooner than later, such as labeling our meat, and we're gonna have some issues here, and it's gonna be it's going to be game-changing. It's going to be over, and you'll either have to get big or get out, and this industry will be no different than the hogs. You'll be working for nothing but manure.
How do you think the Biden administration will affect the cattle industry?
I don't think it'll be a very good, assuming things go the way they're looking, I don't think it'll be very good for the cattle producer. I mean, he's already made his statement, and his VP there, Kamala, she has made numerous statements in the last 5 years that she sees no need for red meat, and she's worried about the emissions that cows lay off. And I mean, they have got some radical ideas, and this green deal is going to be nothing but bad news for agriculture as a whole. And I really fear for the young person that's coming through high school now and involved in FFA, because this industry is very vulnerable right now, and this administration I don't think is going to help anything. I think if anything, it's going to get worse. They're going to let other countries do what they want and walk all over us, and that's my biggest fear as a cow-calf producer, is I won't have a fair market to fight and sell my cattle in with this next administration.
Do you have an outlook for the cattle market heading into 2021?
With this next administration, I think it'll be maybe steady to maybe just a hair bearish. Right now, there's nothing really pushing this thing, to make a big move upwards. So I'm not very optimistic right now. I think it may stay steady, but I don't see a big push, like we've seen in 13, unless we get something done. And sooner than later, I don't see it being anything too promising come 2021 if things stay set the way they're looking at this point.
Do you have any closing statements you would like to make regarding our cattle industry and the cattle markets?
I would just say that people are listening that they need to do something sooner than later. If you think your local government isn't listening, you're wrong. Take the time out of your day to call your local government, call Washington, let your voice be heard. Cindy O'Laughlin over here, our senator over here in Shelbina, very nice gal. She told me to a T, and has told me many times, and our former governor, Eric Greitens, has said the same thing. We get nervous when we get 10 phone calls because those are votes. And if you think your voice isn't heard, you're wrong. Really look into that, the beef checkoff referendum. Look into signing that. Call Washington if you're wanting to make a change in this industry. It's going to take action, and it's going to take several people. One person can't do it all. And if you care about this industry, we really need to kind of step up and do something.